So, hello and welcome to this episode of the Angel Rated Show. I'm Angela Bryant, and with me today I have Alina Scarcella. So, Alina is an online business strategist and digital marketing expert who is passionate about helping ambitious entrepreneurs take back their time by streamlining their operational and marketing practices. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's nice to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
You're very welcome. It's so lovely to have you on. Do you want to start by just telling us a bit more about your business? Tell us about what you do, who you are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, like you said, I do a lot of operations and content marketing for mostly online service-based businesses. Sorry, my dog is barking, but that's the beauty of working from home. Um, so yeah, I pretty much help entrepreneurs kind of get streamlined, get strategized so that they can spend more time, doing what they love in their zone of genius, and where their time is most valuable and fulfilling. So really just spending their days how they want to and leaving the stuff that they're not an expert in with more expert hands. So yeah, that's pretty much what I do. I can tell you a little bit of background and how I kind of got here.
Please
Yeah,
do.
sure, sure. So I know that that probably sounded very vague because I do many, many, many different things. And that's because I kind of started my business unintentionally. I got a degree in event management when I was 21. I live in Orlando, Florida, so it's really tourism heavy over here. We got Disney World, we got all the hotels and everything. So I thought that that would be a fun way to kind of be creative, but also be, kind of in the business world too. And then, so during my time at university, I did a million different internships, trying to find out what really lit me up. And then I graduated and I was still doing internships, still working 3 or 4 part-time jobs, applying to a million, job postings to find that big girl job and the job that's going to start my career and all that. But yeah, nothing really hit. I did hundreds of interviews and I was always either overqualified or underqualified and never like right in that sweet spot. So that was a frustration that lasted about 2 years. And then, one day I came home from a particularly challenging shift at a restaurant that I was serving tables at. I was also the worst server ever. So it was just awful. And I decided to sit down and kind of really take inventory of what I love doing and which parts of which projects really, made me excited and that I got to contribute the most to. And I kind of compiled that into sort of an online portfolio. And then, of course, in true entrepreneurial fashion, I ran with it and made it an entire website that I thought would differentiate me on job applications. But, once I did that, I showed it to one of the business owners who I was working for at the time. And she said, "Hey, this is not like a fake website. This is a real website. I want to see you back here next week with a contract and a new pricing structure. And this is an actual thing. And you should just do this instead of applying to stuff that is not even exciting to you." So that's kind of how I got started. And, from there, I discovered that a virtual assistant is an actual thing. So I began, working for 10 to 15 businesses at a time, running their back end, doing content creation, web design. I mean, really, you name it. And I've done it. So for the past 4 years, that's kind of where I've lived, running the back end of all these different businesses in a million different industries. And then this year, I kind of pivoted to doing more high level stuff instead of the day-to-day stuff, doing intensives like one-on-one that are, have a set start and end date instead of just, ongoing for people who are serious about implementing systems and strategies really quickly and not wasting time Googling and falling down that whole rabbit hole and trying to DIY their business because we've all been there. And then I also do content creation. So I have a whole system for people who really just want to pass off all of their digital marketing and have it just run on autopilot for them.
Wow. So it sounds like you narrowed down and really focused on those things that really light you up.
Yeah, well, it's funny because every project now that I choose to take on really lights me up. So I tried to restructure in a way that I still got to do everything. And for almost everyone, but also not be, not have a kind of ceiling on my time and energy there. So yeah.
So is there a particular sort of client that you love working with the most?
Not really. Every time I encounter someone that's doing something that I've never experienced before or seen before, that's really what lights me up too. And I love that sort of challenge of brainstorming and co-creating with people who, might not have had the same back end look at different people's businesses as I have. So there's really not one particular client. As long as we get along and can bounce ideas with no hesitation, then those are my people.
People that you have that connection with, and that you just get that
Yeah, you just
feeling of
know. Hmm.
absolutely.
Exactly.
So where do you see your business going? Where would you like it to be in the future? What legacy do you want to create with it?
Yeah, well, I think that part of the reason for me transitioning into not being an ongoing 24/7 kind of on-call support person, or having the responsibility of the entire back end of 15 businesses at a time on me, kind of the driving force behind that change, which was a huge transition for me, was that I wanted to be more accessible. I was capped in terms of time and energy and what I could, my general capacity. So now I can really start saying yes again and start helping more people. So I've created a schedule that really aligns with what I want for my business, but also I'm working on creating like an entire resource center for people who might not be ready to take that jump and work one-on-one, who want to DIY their stuff, but don't want to waste a ton of time like pulling pieces from other people's like articles and courses and things. So yeah, I'm pretty much building out a resource library to be the most accessible as possible, and really just share what I know and continue to do that, as long as this lasts, which I hope forever.
It's great that you found something that you're so passionate about so early in your life, and that you can really evolve as you grow and learn. You can keep evolving it and making it what you're really loving.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a cornerstone value of mine, is like, if you're excited about it, just do it. So, and the beauty of being an entrepreneur, I think, is the freedom to kind of try things. And I think that even if you try something and it doesn't work, it's going to take the same amount of mental and emotional energy as thinking about it forever and wondering what could have been.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
Try it, suck it and see, and see what
Yeah,
happens. Keep moving on.
exactly.
Try it. Yeah. Just make a decision and actually go for it and see what happens.
Exactly. It's much harder to think about something forever than to just
It does, and it's
put it
emotion.
out
It's
there.
draining. To
Hmm.
keep sitting with a decision. Just make the decision, move on, and try it. And you can adapt the course later on if it's not working. But you have to keep that momentum moving forwards.
Exactly.
So we were talking a bit beforehand, before we started recording, about just the fact that there's so many big issues going on in our world at the moment. There's so much, the issues of our time that is impacting all of us in more ways, in so many different ways. So are there any in particular that you care about more than others, that you're more passionate about, that you're doing work for in some way? I'd love to hear more about, where you are on that.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I live in Orlando, Florida, in the United States, and we've definitely been going through some turbulence in our country for the past few years. So I feel like, a lot of issues that have been around forever really got surfaced in the past couple of years. And I find it interesting how now it's almost like businesses, especially here, have almost an obligation to talk about these issues within their business. Whereas before it was like, maybe let's leave politics like for personal time and not kind of, show that we're involved one way or the other. Well, now I feel like it's almost, I don't know. I feel like it's almost an obligation for you to say, what your values are, just because some of these issues are so important. And, some specific ones that are important to me, of course, are, women's rights and equality. And I think this is part of why I was always somewhat averse to going the corporate route with my career, because it just doesn't seem like somewhere where I would want to be. I know that some women are perfectly cut out for that type of job, but women in corporate America make on average 82 cents on the dollar. And Black women make 62 cents on the dollar, and Hispanic women make 54 on the dollar compared to men in America. So don't really like that too much. And then, of course, besides the wage gap for women, there's also a lot of policies and things that have gotten rolled back in recent years. Access to reproductive rights and basic healthcare for women has been challenged a lot here in recent years. It's been, some of these services are illegal. So that's, I come from a medical family. Both my parents are doctors, and it's really difficult to watch those kinds of things in 2021, get rolled back after, there's been so much effort put into the fight for women's equality. And then besides that, I mean, gun violence is another huge thing in America. That's a huge problem. And it goes hand in hand with access to mental health services. I don't know if you guys, we might be too far geographically for you to have heard of this, but, I remember in 2016, down the street from me, there's a gay club, like a gay nightclub, which was a super fun place. I loved it. And, there was a huge shooting there for, whatever reason. Some guy went in there and just started unloading, and people, I mean, every few weeks we see a new school. I have one of my closest childhood friends got shot and paralyzed while he was walking out of his university library. Wow. Like it's a common thing here. And maybe you've heard of like Sandy Hook, where someone went into a preschool and killed 17 preschoolers. Like it's not okay. And it's a very difficult thing to, feel comfortable going out in the community when you're just going to, a concert or, some kind of gathering. And sometimes, here you think like this crowd is too big for something horrific not to happen. And it's just, it contributes to the mental health problem too. So that's another thing that I would say that I'm pretty passionate about. And then, yeah, I mean, this last 4 years, we had someone in charge who, we don't say that name in my house, but I know that you guys had a similar character, maybe, but this person made it okay to be racist, homophobic, sexist, anti-Semitic, pretty much everything that I consider to be wrong with the world, and really express it in a violent and loud way. So he calls that patriotism, and we on the other side like really can't let that happen. So I'm definitely really involved in the local government here. I used to work at my local city hall, in the marketing and communication sector, working with local businesses, the brick and mortar businesses that sometimes get the brunt of new corporations coming in, all that kind of stuff. So I think that all of those values and local businesses who identify with contributing to making progress there are the people that I really enjoy supporting and collaborating with, at least locally.
There's just so much going on. I mean, just
yeah.
So many different causes, so many different things that are going in the wrong direction and that are painful to watch. Even from this side, we're a very, I think in the UK we're it's not, some of those things aren't quite as in our face, and some of the situations are different in terms of health, but we're very aware of, we've got the same issues and we get a lot of your news and everything else. So
I'm sure. Yeah. I recently was speaking to a business owner that I connected with who I think lives in Essex. And she was like, and this is actually, I think it was a month before, it wasn't recent, it was about a month before George Floyd. And she was horrified that our police carry guns. And I was like, oh, they use it as like a preventative measure, or like they hesitate and someone gets murdered, you know? So like, it's insane, and it shouldn't be that way. I wish, you know, I would feel safer, you know, and that's where my tax dollars go to. So it's just a vicious cycle, I think. And now, at least through these turbulent times, people are more confident talking about it. You know, it's not strange to have what you believe kind of front and center, you know.
So I think I was going to say quite a lot of, obviously your personal values have just come out from what you've been talking about, but are there any other sort of principles or beliefs or ways that you live your life?
I mean, pretty much my biggest thing is to be as helpful as I can. If I realize that someone has a need that I could fill, I'm the first to stand up for sure. So I think that I've built my business and my lifestyle in a way that allows me to take the freedom and the time to go make sure that I contribute to what I really care about. And you know, there are those big causes and you know, those major issues that are going to be you know, a longer road. But even, you know, having virtual coffee with someone who's thinking about starting a business or just wants advice or ideas, or they just don't fit in like the same way that I did. You know, I have a link on my website to book a virtual coffee, and people book them all the time. So even just talking and offering, you know, a sounding board for business owners and whoever needs one is something that I think that I'm committed to for the rest of my life. Definitely.
It's a great reminder that giving back doesn't always mean, you know, donating tons of money. It can be as simple as just being available and being there and offering your time when it's available to, yeah, to talk to people, and a virtual coffee and a virtual hug and whatever else is needed. So
Exactly.
fab. Ooh. We didn't talk. I didn't ask you beforehand about sort of lighter questions.
I do have an adorable dog that goes with me everywhere, and we have a lot of fun together. And yeah, traveling was my like favorite thing. That got stifled for a bit, of course, but I'm actually heading out tomorrow to Las Vegas and California and the other coast of America. So I'm very, very excited. I used to cringe when people start clapping at the end of a plane ride, but I think I'm one of those people now. I think I'm going to clap when the plane lands, because I really, truly have missed, you know, traveling, and this is domestic. So, you know, I've been a lot of places in America, but going abroad is definitely one of my favorite things to do. So
So
yeah.
tell us a bit about, I don't know, how you celebrate accomplishing something or how you practice self-care. Tell us something a bit more about you as a person.
Yeah. Well, let's see. When I accomplish something, I take time off. Because I feel like, you know, I got trapped into the cycle of, okay, what's next? And always thinking about the next thing and the next thing. And there's always something to work on. And there's always, you know, more things I could have my hands in. But really simplifying that idea and taking a couple days off to just kind of think about what I put together, or, you know, a project or something that already happened, is a nice way to just slow down and reflect, and also is healthy, I think, for my brain, because there's a lot going on in here. And, you know, to kind of reset is a nice thing. So, you know, being in Florida, if I drive an hour east or west, I'm on a beach. So, so that's a nice thing if I just need to get a quick change of scenery. And then, you know, even locally, minutes away from my house, there's a million different lakes. So I have a paddleboard, like a stand-up paddleboard that I take out all the time. And yeah, just getting outside really is kind of my self-care. because I spend a lot of time inside talking to myself. So, getting out and seeing people and getting involved in my community is really kind of what I do to celebrate and unwind.
And stand-up paddleboarding has just taken off in the last few years. It's now everywhere. Everyone's doing it.
Yeah, yeah, it's popular there too. I think that people, it was the one socially distanced activity that I could do with friends during the pandemic. I mean, we're paddling on a huge lake, so we can definitely stay 10 feet apart. In fact, like it's better if you stay over there so we don't crash
Yeah.
into each other. So yeah, that's a hobby that I've kind of picked up, and it's really refreshing and nice.
Fab. So, is there anything else
Yeah.
you want to share with listeners in terms of you or your business, or yeah, where you are in the world?
Um, I think we about covered it, but yeah, no, I mean, my goal really is to grease the wheels on any ideas and just be available and kind of embody this concept that you actually can just do whatever you want. um, you know, Someone out there is looking for what you have, and by not acting on an idea or a passion, it's not only a disservice to yourself and your life, but it's a disservice to those who who are waiting for someone like you to come out. So I think that my business is built around being available to kind of push those ideas from really idea to income, and yeah, I'm around. So yeah, I have a lot of new resources coming out in the next couple of months. So those will be available. I'm making a lot of it free. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
I love that. I love that. It's,
Yeah.
yeah, we need to be following those hunches and doing the things that we're thinking about so that so other people who are searching for that thing can absolutely find it. So, where can
Exactly.
people find out more about you?
Probably my website is the best place to go. It's alinascarcella.com. And then I am kind of a social media monogamist. So I hang out most on Instagram. So it's alina.scarcella on Instagram. And yeah, those are the two places. So
Fab, thank you. I'll make sure that we add all those links to the show notes. And those notes are always available on angelrated.com/podcast. So you can find the latest episode there and any information to link to Alina. So thank you ever so much for your time. It's been such a bit of a roller coaster through
yeah.
all the emotions of thinking about all the stuff that's going on in the US and more broadly um,
Oh, yeah.
in the world at the moment. But it's been great to hear more about you and what lights you up and what you're passionate about.
Yes, it was a pleasure. Mostly, I didn't mean to get too heavy, but but it was so nice speaking with you. So thank you.
Not heavy at all. And I think for me, it really just helps people know more about who they're working with and what that person's interested in. So I think that's amazing.
Exactly. Exactly.
Fantastic. So thank you for your time. And if everyone who's listening, if you enjoyed this episode, obviously I'd love you to subscribe to the show and to leave a review on your favourite podcast platform. And don't forget to share this episode with your online business friends.